Pleasure to introduce our next speaker, MLA Joe Ceci, the official opposition critic for municipal affairs. MLA Sisi is joining us on behalf of opposition leader Rachel Notley, who unfortunately contracted COVID a few days ago and is unable to be with us in person. Joe Ceci was re-elected to his second term in the Legislative Assembly of Alberta on April 16, 2019, representing the constituency of Calgary-Buffalo. During his first term, Mr. Ceci served as President of Treasury Board and Minister of Finance. Prior to serving with the Legislative Assembly, Mr. Ceci worked as a public policy manager with a community-based charitable organization in Calgary. Before this, he served as a City of Calgary alderman for 15 years. From 1988 to 1995, he worked as a community social worker with the City of Calgary. And from 1981 to 1987, he provided family counseling services for several organizations. He holds a Bachelor of Social Work from the University of Western Ontario and a Master of Social Work from the University of Calgary. He and his wife, Christine, call Calgary home. Please join me in welcoming Joe Ceci to the stage.
Feel old when you hear all of that, eh? I want to say thank you very much for the wonderful introduction, and good morning, everyone. Before I begin, I want to acknowledge that we are gathered here on the traditional territory of Treaty 6 First Nations, and I recognize the Métis people who share a deep connection with this land. If I may, I would like to speak for a moment about the war in Ukraine. I know we all, as Canadians and as Albertans, stand strongly with the people of Ukraine, who are fighting for their lives against the attacks and atrocities committed under the order of Putin. This war is wrong, and it must end. I join you all in standing with the people of Ukraine and the many, many Ukrainian Albertans who make up our wonderful province. Friends, it's truly great to be here with you in person today. This is the biggest crowd I've had the opportunity to speak to in some time, so it's a little overwhelming. But let me start with the obvious. I'm not Rachel Notley. Our leader really wanted to be here today, but as you may know, she fell ill. She's doing fine at home, isolating with some mild symptoms. So instead you get me, a big improvement. I can say that because, as you know, every time Rachel gets up in front of you, she likes to poke fun at me. She tells jokes about maybe the way I'm dressed or my running ability or / jogging ability. And while it's tempting to get back at her today, I'll be the bigger person. 1.5 feet bigger, by the way. And I'll try to keep my remarks short, but not as short as she. Hey, yo. In all seriousness, thank you so much again to Alberta Municipalities for inviting me to speak to you today. It is truly my pleasure to address a room of so many community leaders, all of us coming together to discuss our shared future as Albertans. We are in serious times, around the world and here at home. We have big challenges to address, but we know these challenges also present us with opportunity. Opportunity to take everything we've learned through this downturn and build a stronger, more resilient economy going forward. As the Premier mentioned, the province is in a surplus position, and that is very good news for Alberta's finances. As a person who managed the Treasury when oil was $40, I know how hard it is to make decisions when times are tough. We chose to focus on protecting families, on building schools and hospitals, and investing in our future to counteract the worst parts of the recession. I have no regrets about that. But today, we know this rise in prices is different. There are global forces at play, and we simply cannot predict where prices will go. This instability is already creating pressure on our economy, so we must ask ourselves, How do we ensure the benefits of this price recovery go beyond budgetary fiscal and reach the kitchen table? We need to create more jobs, not just get back what was lost through COVID. And we need to do more to diversify into the long-term recovery, not just relying on commodity prices to save the day. I believe we need a recovery for all Albertans, from high river to high level. And as local leaders who are essential partners in this goal, you deserve someone who trusts you to help get us there. So today I want to speak about my party's vision for Alberta's future. I want to talk about what's on offer from New Democrats in 2023, should we be fortunate enough to earn the support of Albertans in the next election. I want to talk specifically about our community services, our infrastructure, and more generally about our approach to partnerships. To start, the only way to build a stronger Alberta is to invest in strong communities, especially as we come out of this pandemic. For us, those goals are guided by the values set out under our economic blueprint taking shape at albertasfuture.ca. That's albertasfuture.ca. These values include good jobs for Albertans, an inclusive recovery for all, economic diversification as a stated goal and priority, recognition and of the economic benefits of strong public services, and the rejection of any race to the bottom. With all that in mind, here is what you can expect from New Democrats if we are elected next year. First, we will reinvest in our public healthcare system for care on the ground and in your communities. This means expanding surgical capacity in public systems and increasing access to rural communities to address the backlog we are facing faster. No chaos, no big changes, just common sense care. We will fix EMS, iron out the issues from the move to consolidated services, and put more ambulances on the road. We will invest in attracting and recruiting more healthcare workers, and yes, that means treating them with respect. No picking fights with doctors or nurses. We will leave the negotiating to the bargaining table and act with respect and humility. We will move forward with treating mental health for what it is, essential frontline care that every single Albertan should have when they need it. And we will take serious action to draw more doctors into rural communities, showcasing the wonderful life our beautiful province offers and incentivize them to set down roots and stay. Second, we will support our children, our next generation of Alberta leaders, from their earliest learning to their highest education. We will do our work to advance our own work to advance a national childcare agreement, lowering fees faster and creating more spaces for early childhood learning, the kind of learning that makes a lifelong difference in how children approach school. We will ensure children have a modern curriculum taught in smaller classrooms, more teachers, and more support for students with special needs. And frankly, COVID proved we need to start treating our air like our water and cleaning it. We will invest in air filtration and ventilation, starting with schools. And we will support the post-secondary institutions that forge future leaders. No more cuts, no more tuition hikes, no more brain drain. Our biggest responsibility as leaders is making sure that the next generation can succeed when we are gone. That is what Albertans deserve. Third, we will act with urgency to grow and diversify the economy. Alberta will continue to lead the energy sector into the future as we pursue big goals like net zero emissions by 2050. And as we expand into new forms of energy like hydrogen and geothermal. We will act deliberately to focus on the new technology and digital innovation economy taking flight worldwide. And yes, that means high-speed internet into every corner of this province. It's 2022, for heaven's sakes, and that means Wi-Fi should be able to reach the barn. And we will support small businesses, those who struggled the most through COVID, to keep the doors open and keep Alberta moving. This also means a clear focus on revitalizing our city's downtown cores. We will draw new visitors from across the world by protecting our mountains and by supporting the sporting events, festivals, rodeos that define our communities and bring us all closer together. And we will support hardworking families to make ends meet. Right now, we know costs are piling up. So we will move decisively to rein in out-of-control utility costs and insurance premiums. We'll re-index income tax exemptions and benefit programs to inflation. This will put thousands of dollars back into the pockets of families, seniors, Albertans who rely on income support, and AISH. We will abandon any plans to pursue an Alberta police force. We will also abandon any plans to pursue an Alberta pension plan. Because policing should not equal higher taxes, and Albertans' retirements should not be trifled with ever. And I want you to know this. We will approach these things with common sense. We will not throw out programs for partisan reasons. We've already lost 3 years of economic development from the misguided decision to kill investment tools like the digital media tax credit. We won't make their mistakes. We will keep things at work and stop the distractions. The new film and TV tax credit will stay. But the $30 million war room will be closed forever. Folks, there's more to it, but broadly speaking, that is what we'll do. And unlike this government, we see you all as partners in making this work. That's why last year, Rachel promised that we will end the fiscal shell game we see today. No more downloading costs onto your back. The term partners in prosperity won't be lip service. It will be a law. A genuine legislated fiscal relationship where our revenues are tied to all of yours. We will share in the bad times and the good. And where we will work together on our big ideas and the big projects that get us there. Sorry, I screwed that up. And we're going to work together on the big ideas and the big projects that get us there. Roads, bridges, public transit, affordable housing, rec centers, flood prevention, wastewater. Today, you are getting less in MSI and your borrowing costs are going up. This is not how you build for the future. Washed out roads because a culvert is backed up is not a sign of surplus. That's just a deficit by a different name. We will invest in building our communities. Now, that doesn't mean a blank check and a free-for-all spending for everybody. There's going to be choices to be made, but you all will have a seat at that table. Because if we do this right, if we work together, we can recover faster, stronger, and more united as a province. Before I wrap up, there is something else I wanted to touch on, and that's the importance of public trust. It's something I think about, maybe you think about a lot these days too. As someone who's spent over 22 years in public office, 15 of them as a city councillor, the level of cynicism and distrust we see today is very, very concerning. I say with confidence that among all orders of government, municipal leaders are the closest to those you serve in community. People come up to you every day at the grocery store, at the minor hockey game, sometimes with an earful about decisions they don't like. Sometimes it's a concern about an issue you know is a problem. Occasionally, it's a thank you. Occasionally, it's a thank you. And those are the really good days. But mostly, people want to know that you care, that you're working on it, that you have their best interests at heart. That's why trust is so important. When you lose trust as a leader, you cause people to lose trust in government more generally. and all the democratic institutions that support it. This is a big problem, and one that impairs good governance. You know, I heard some of what the Premier said today, and for all the things he highlighted, I did not hear him pledge to restore trust. Frankly, I believe the Premier is picking politically motivated fights with teachers, municipalities, unions, and others, just to improve his odds of surviving a leadership review. His move to revise the MGA is just that. It's unwarranted, it's unhelpful, and it sows mistrust. And that, my friends, is very sad. I can't believe this needs to be said, but I'll say it anyway. You are not the children of the province, and you do not need to be spanked. I believe we need to get back to first principles, respect for each other as elected leaders of different democratically elected orders of government, respectful debates about the best way to go forward, and respect for the rule of law. If we are going to restore trust in our democratic institutions, we must restore trust in each other. That's our commitment to you. We will restore trust. We will be open and transparent about the facts. You will be respected for the leaders that you are. And we will focus on pragmatic solutions to today's problems, not cynical wedge politics. When there's movement on issues that impact your communities, you won't just read about it on social media. You will be at the table. That is what stability looks like to us. You know, an Alberta where people know what they're getting when they wake up in the morning. Now, I'm not saying that we're always going to agree or that Alberta's legislature will be drama-free. Frankly, a high-speed rail line down Highway 2 is more likely than that. But believe me, we can work together from a shared set of facts again. We can build understanding that we can focus on things that matter for the two of us together. And what matters is our shared goals and the values we share as Albertans. With that, my friends, these are unprecedented times. The times, they are a-changing, and they are changing fast. There are important decisions ahead of us, decisions that will shape the Alberta we want to see, which is a shining example of prosperity, equality, community, and opportunity. A province that acts boldly with confidence in its people. I remain hopeful and optimistic for the future of this province that I love, and I know you do too. Thank you, friends.
Well, thank you so much for that, Jill.
Tens of thousands of Albertans have already provided their idea for how we can build Alberta's future. You can too by going to albertasfuture.ca.